Do you have misfiring hormones? Have you noticed change in your body shape? Maybe you have slight belly fat and you are losing the muscles, or it's difficult for you to build the muscles. Maybe you suffer with insomnia. You used to sleep like a baby and now it's very difficult. You noticed mood swings. Maybe you already went to your gynecologist and they recommended hormone replacement therapy, but they didn't really do any test and they gave you the synthetic progesterone, or they maybe gave you even testosterone and estrogen, the synthetic versions, and you are using it for 3 months but don't see any results, and you wonder how can you know if it's working or not. Maybe you have sore breast, maybe you have heavier periods, maybe you are missing periods. All these are signs of hormonal imbalance, and this is usually called perimenopause. Perimenopause can start at the age of 35, so it starts 7 to 10 years before the actual menopause. And you might be thinking, but actual menopause, it's around the age of 51. Yeah, it used to be for our mothers at the age of 51, but due to the lifestyle and stress that we have now, it's more common at the age of 45, 47, 48, and the missing periods or heavy periods are usually starting really 5 to 10 years before that. So um, if you are anywhere around my age, 44, you might have experienced a couple of these things. I certainly did myself. And then I quickly jumped into the hormone yoga therapy and all the phytonutrients to sleep well again and avoid the hot flushes, because there is nothing worse than hot flushes or night sweats. When you're like swimming in a sweat, I experienced it myself. And what I would suggest as a functional medicine practitioner and holistic nutritionist is first diving deeper into what's happening in your body. And then based on these results, prepare the protocol that might help you to rebalance the hormones. Because yes, you can find um, happy hormones supplements on internet that is a combination of absolutely everything on a planet in a very, very small doses. So you have there ashwagandha and rhodiola and this and that. But if you don't know what you are targeting, swallowing pills for how long? 1, 2, 3, 4 months? And then you discover that you spent €150 and it didn't work for you. Why? Because you didn't know where you are finding yourself. So let's look at the example of hormone urinary metabolite tests and what they can tell you and which steps you can take after that. And why do I prefer urinary test over the blood tests? So blood test from the serum shows you what your ovaries or adrenal glands produced and what's currently carried in your body. So sex hormone binding globulin, the protein that is carrying the hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, you will see. You will see the precursor, DHEA, the youth hormone. You will see the free and bound hormones that you can measure. But then you don't know whether or not you are able to utilize them, whether you have the enzymes that are supposed to break them down and activate them, and whether you are eliminating them in the urine. And that's what you can see in the urinary metabolite test. I'll share the screen and show you. So as you can see, here we have the main screen. And the main screen will already show you what's out of the balance. So it's almost like a rainbow, like a semaphore, like a lights. So everything that's in red is obviously increased. Everything that is in yellow is also increased. What's green, green is a good color, that's in balance. What's light blue is slightly low, and then really dark blue would be deficiency. So here already on the first page, you can see that we have here different metabolites. So metabolite is a broken down hormone that has been utilized in our body. And these metabolites, the waste products, need to be eliminated from our body. It's either in the stool or in the urine. So we are measuring how much of it was urine and which metabolites our body actually decided to create. So we have, for example, OH2 is innocent metabolite. And that's what we actually want to have it. You have it written here on the top. So it's generally considered safe. Then we have OH4, which is a potential for DNA damage. And so we don't want our DNA to be damaged because DNA is the material of the cells that gets replicated, right? From one cells get two and from two and so on. And so if you have a DNA damage, then the cell is replicating with the damage. And if it replicates with a damaged DNA, it can create cancer and other disease. So we definitely don't want to have a damaged DNA. And as you can see here in this example, it went over. So there is way too much of it. And of course, the strategy for that would be to introduce some antioxidants that can protect and reverse the damage. And then we have OH16, which, as you can see, is considered highly estrogenic. And that can be one of the causes of the breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So we definitely don't want this one to have high. Then we are looking at the pathway. So if you watched the previous video where I was talking about the methylation and the genetic coding that we have, we are using phase 1 and phase 2. And obviously, if you have way too much of the estrone, which is the most potent estrogen, and then estradiol, which is in a menstruating women, with this COMT, which is the enzyme that is breaking it down. Are we breaking it down properly? Well, yellow is also not optimal. So we would be looking into where the pathway is broken and what can we do about it with phytonutrients or with adjustment of the diet. So as you can see, it's always personalized diet because not every one of you is going to have high estrogen. Maybe you actually have low estrogen. Maybe you are just approaching the menopause, the actual menopause, where the stores of the estrogen are depleted, and then you are going to eat completely different things, right? But in this case, this is a estrogen dominance, sore breast, potential danger of the breast cancer, heavy periods or missing periods. It's a hormonal roller coaster. And the other thing we are looking at, if you are like sleeping well or not. So are you having enough cortisol? Or do you have more cortisol? And what is the difference, right? So cortisol is the active stress hormone and might be a predictor of chronic stress. And chronic stress, it can be psychological, chemical, mechanical, right? So psychological, you understand very well. But chemical, it's a chemical war in your body that can be caused by parasites, viruses, bacteria, food allergies, that can be happening in your gut. You might have leaky gut. And then you get a systemic inflammation, right? And so the body is trying to protect you and is increasing cortisol, or it's stressed by the hormonal imbalance. And again, then the cortisol would be high. If you have cortisone, so cortisone is inactive storage, but we can always activate it back to active cortisol. And so then we are taking 5 samples and we are looking at when are you peaking the cortisol and cortisone. How much do you have in the morning? Because we know that, for example, at 8 o'clock in the morning, you should have optimal levels of cortisol because cortisol helps you to wake up so that you don't feel tired, so that you don't need coffee, so that you can function all day, right? So that you can be like me now, running on the cortisol when I film the videos. And how is it in the evening? Well, in the evening, you definitely want cortisol to be low because if you have high cortisol, you cannot produce melatonin, the sleeping hormone, okay? And that's pretty bad. Then we are also looking again on the methylation. So 5-alpha reductase activity. Very often women are, for example, growing the hair on the face or at the back, or they have acne on the back, or they have acne on the face at later stage, and they are maybe losing the hair, so the baldness. And this is typical for PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, or androgen dominance. So we are looking whether you are more leaning towards 5-alpha, which is basically going to create the testosterone, or 5-beta. And then aromatase. So aromatase, again, are you going to make more testosterone or more estradiol? So if you are female, you most probably want to make more estradiol than testosterone, right? Or you want to stay somewhere in the middle. And then we are again looking at the methylation in the liver. Do you have sufficient amount of B12, B6, and other nutrients that are needed for this? And what are your enzymes? So this COMT, how is the methylation activity? And so then, of course, we would be going into the details. These are the pathways. Today, I'm not going to walk you through the whole results and telling you what should be done, but I just wanted to introduce why this might be a good peek into your hormones, because you might discover that you, for example, don't have enough progesterone, and that would be the strategy that you need to take. Yes. And that would be with phytonutrients, maybe taking 1 to 3 per day, maybe starting at the time of ovulation. It depends what age you are. Maybe we would discover that we need to work on the stress. Maybe you would have also imbalance in neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, because you have leaky gut. So this is not just focusing on one part, which is female hormones, but it's looking at it holistically, connecting all the dots. So is it the liver that is the root cause because of the methylation? And that's why your hormones are out of balance. And that's why you cannot digest the food. And that's why you have the deficiencies. And that's why you feel the way you feel? Or is it pancreas? Or is it ovaries? Or is it because you are under massive stress and you are lacking the zinc and magnesium? So let's find the root cause of your deficiencies, and let's get you back onto the driver's seat.